Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. Real estate investing myths. A few weeks ago, I was in San Antonio when I did a video and I asked for your help, and I'm going to do that today. In that video, I said, here are 12 things that I teach people on how to reach financial freedom in 10 years or less, even if you're not starting from the best position, and make work completely optional for the average person. And I listed out some of the things that I teach, and I asked you to put in the comments after the video was over, which advice do I give or concept do I teach that had the greatest impact on you? So what I'm going to do in this video is talk about 7, at least, real estate investing myths that I kind of go against. And so what I'm asking you to do in the comments after the live stream is to put, when I called out a myth and I point out why I believe it's a myth, basically myth busting it, did any of the myths that I dispelled help you invest? Did any of the myths that I dispelled cause you to disagree with me? Let me know in the comments below, because there are a lot of concepts that people have about real estate investing that someone else says, that you hear through a third party, or you find here on YouTube University, and it changes the way you invest. I've had a lot of people say, when I talk about buying a rental property, I'm not spending any money. I'm moving it. I take it from the bank and put it in the property, that it's still there. It's still mine. I can do a home equity line of credit, do a cash out refinance. I can sell and take the money out. I just moved it from the bank to the property. I've had people say, the first time I heard you say that, it completely shifted the way I look at real estate. That's what I'm looking at in these myths that I've talked about. 2, I'm going to hold towards the end because they tend to irritate people. And generally, people who are irritated by what I say are going to be gone by then anyway. So, thanks for hanging out with me here on this random Tuesday. If you're watching this in Futureland, I do my live streams every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, and I answer all the questions that come in, generally around 2 hours, maybe 3. Tonight, after the live stream, there is a members-only live stream that is starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, where we all jump on Zoom and we look at deals. So here's the first thing. And like I said, I'm going to hold the 2 that tend to irritate people towards the end. But out of respect for Charlie Munger passing away today, I want to mention one of his strategies that I use in real estate to dispel a myth, and as kind of in his honor, I'll bring that one up first. A lot of people, when they talk about investing in general, will say, you've got to diversify, have a well-diversified index portfolio, put some money in real estate, some money in stocks, some money in dividend stocks, some money in crypto, some money in your retirement accounts, and you want to spread out your wealth so that you're diversified. When it comes to investing, I want to dispel that myth by using something Charlie Munger said. And I watched a conversation with Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger where they were on like a panel talking. And Warren Buffett basically spent 10 minutes talking about how important diversification is. And then Charlie basically spoke up and said, that makes sense once you're wealthy. That if you spread yourself too thin and you chase too many rabbits, you're going to starve. Charlie said, and I agree, that when we're growing our wealth, what we want to do is focus, chase one rabbit, master that rabbit until we become wealthy. And then once you're wealthy, diversify to protect your wealth. I agree with this, and it dispels the myth of being diversified. A lot of people, before they invest, or investors that don't follow through to the next step, think, I need to be diversified. Instead of, if you're a stock investor and you also have money in your retirement accounts, and you also have money in an HSA, and you also have money in real estate, and you're trying to start and grow a business, how much money do you have to invest in stocks? Because how much you invest, including the amount of time it's invested and the way that it compounds, can have a huge impact on your stock portfolio. Minority Mindset invests in crypto, stocks, real estate, now that he's diversified, but he's realized that the best use for Jaspreet Singh's money is to put it into his business, the best return, the thing he's focused on and mastered. For me, I don't own any stocks. If I did, I'd still be working. I have no money in retirement accounts anymore. If I did, I'd still be working. I focused on real estate, 100%, diversified in real estate in ways to protect my portfolio by having my properties more than 10 miles apart, by not over leveraging, by having 1/3 military, 1/3 Section 8, 1/3 working or retired as far as my tenants go. So I'm diversified in the asset class that I mastered to reach financial freedom. So now at some point, it will make sense for me to diversify. So thank you, Charlie Munger, for some awesome advice. You will be missed in the finance world. The second thing that I think I've dispelled as a myth, when we have content creators like Grant Cardone, where for a few years it was, if it doesn't have 16 units, don't waste my time. And now it's, if it doesn't start with 32 units, don't waste my time. The myth that I dispelled is, I don't think it takes a massive portfolio, hundreds, dozens of units to reach financial freedom. I reached financial independence, and there was a difference between financial independence and financial freedom, but financial independence happened for me with 7 units. I was making more with 7 rental units, more money take home than I was as a police officer working full time. I retired last year, 2022, so almost the year before last, as we're wrapping up 2023, with 16 rental units that produced $204,000 in pure cash flow. I had a video about a month ago called The Truth About Cash Flow, where I break down how I ended up with $204,000. That's after paying principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and after setting aside for repairs, maintenance, and vacancy. And because of the beauty of real estate, that's after taxes. 16 rental units on 8 properties. 1 single family house, I think 5 duplexes, and a triplex and a fourplex, totaling 16 rental units. I now have 18 because I purchased one since I retired. But it didn't take hundreds. Now, if I had to spend $2 or $3 million a year to support the lifestyle I need, it might. But if you have a reasonable expectation of enjoying retirement by spending $50,000 to $150,000, you can absolutely reach financial freedom with a smaller portfolio. My way of looking at my portfolio was never, I want bragging rights on unit count. I want bragging rights on cash flow. What I wanted was the right amount of cash flow from the least amount of units. I am not an entrepreneur. I don't want to grow a big side hustle. I wanted to invest in and reach financial freedom by investing in real estate, where it takes me less than 2 hours a month to manage my 16 rental units when I retired. The right amount of cash flow from the least amount of units. The next myth that I want to talk about, that I have dispelled or talked against strongly, that irritates a lot of people because they might be in the one market where this makes sense, but even making sense, it's still flawed. In real estate, a lot of people reference the 1% rule. They'll talk about, I can't find a deal that meets the 1% rule. I invested over a period of 10 years to acquire those 16 rental units that I retired with last year. Not one of them, none, met the 1% rule when I bought them. Not for the first year or two. So first, it's a flawed rule. Second, it's outdated. The reason I'll say it's outdated is because it actually kind of made sense in 2010, 2011, when there were millions of foreclosures going on and we had thousands of listings in each local market where people had to filter through to find the ones that were the best deals. Not good or great deals. There were great deals that weren't the best deals. So they needed a filtering system. So the 1% rule was used and made sense. Are there millions of foreclosures, millions, and thousands of deals in your market that would make sense, that do cash flow, that you need to filter through to find the best of? not in my market, not in the markets of the people that I interact with. So it's outdated. The flaw to the 1% rule for me was, what if you have an HOA that's $500 a month? What if you're looking at a property that doesn't have an HOA? What if your homeowner's insurance in Washington State is $1,000 a year? Or you're in Florida where you have to have flood insurance and it's $8,000 a year? What if your property taxes are $3,000 a year here in Washington State or $16,000 a year in New Jersey? It's a flawed metric to use that when there is a bunch of deals to look at, you can use to filter down to the best ones. Sure, we're not in that market now. So that's the other thing I want to dispute is myth busting the 1% rule. The other thing I want to dispute, and I will use myself as a case study for this. A lot of people say real estate and investing is for the wealthy. You have to make a lot of money to invest in real estate. If you listen to Dave Ramsey, real estate investing is for the wealthy, because it is, the 7 steps is something like build an emergency fund, get 6 months of living saved up. It's all these steps that don't talk about investing until you haven't, you've got 15% you're investing, you're maxing out your retirement accounts, you are paying down your mortgage, and then you're going to buy properties when they're all cash. Yeah, if you're going to buy all cash and you're going to have no debt and you're going to have your mortgage paid off, you're pretty wealthy. If you're making $10 million a month off of a huge radio show or talk show like Dave Ramsey, it makes sense to do that. So I can see a lot of people thinking real estate investing is for the wealthy. When I started investing, and I'll keep this really short because I share my story often, but I was making $17 an hour. I was laid off from law enforcement because of the 2008 housing crash. I found out about $89,000 in bad debt in my name that I didn't know about until the divorce. I was a single parent with 3 kids. From that position, yeah, it did take 2 years to save the down payment, 2 years to get consistent income in a new field since I was out of law enforcement, 2 years to figure out how to buy that first duplex, to house hack. Real estate investing might be for the wealthy if you think you have to save up and buy all cash. But what if you can put in owner-occupied, low down payment, best interest rate loan, fixed rate debt, 30 years on a property that lowers your housing costs? And yeah, it was 2 more years till I got the next duplex, then a year and a half. So it did speed up as my rental income increased. But for the first 8 years of investing, maybe 7, I don't think I ever made more than $61,000. Most years were less than 50, but like the 8th year, I think I made 61,000. Then when my real estate started making really good money, the owners of the company I worked at had demoted me all the way down to president of the company and started paying me a very high wage, 6 figures compared to where I was at. It's a really high wage to me. Might not be that high to some people watching, to try to keep me there, and gave me $2 million in golden handcuffs. So yeah, at the very end, I kind of looked wealthy. I still walked away from the golden handcuffs. I walked away from the W-2 last year because the amount of money you make is not important to me. Time freedom is what mattered. So you don't have to be wealthy to invest in real estate. But if you invest in real estate consistently for a decade, chances are you're going to be wealthy. So then they're right. Real estate investing is for the wealthy, but that's how you become wealthy. So now I'm going to get to a couple of things that tend to irritate people. And I'll start with the softest and I'll end on the 2 that really irritate people. But the first one is, a lot of investors talk about the 4% rule. And this doesn't really apply to real estate, but I want to talk about the 4% rule related to real estate and how I myth busted. One of the reasons why I chose real estate is because if you want to invest for financial freedom and you're going to use the 4%, which the Trinity study was done for decades to prove the 4% rule, was a way to be able to safely withdraw 4% of your portfolio, because the average portfolio, diversified index portfolio with the stock market increases 10% a year, giving you enough money from that 10% to cover inflation, your 4% you withdraw, and the taxes. So if you need $50,000 a year to live, right? I hover around 30 because I house hack, live for free, I buy paid off cars. I set aside money for the next car, but it's about $30,000 a year. When I travel, I go to Thailand and Colombia and Portugal. I try not to go to very expensive countries, but you can live, I can live because I'm single and with my kids are older now, but $30,000 a year is plenty. If you go to $50,000 a year, what was this sparkly thing in the background on Zoom? That was new. Interesting. So threw off the Emperor's Groove. Beware the groove. Let's say you need $50,000 a year to live. With the 4% rule, the idea is you invest 25% that amount, 25 times that amount. So that's $1,250,000 invested to make $50,000. Here's how I myth busted that. For the decade of investing, out of my own W-2 income, I invested, I totaled everything up, $320,000. Of the rental income in that same decade, I invested about $300,000. It was a little less. So we'll say $620,000 invested, 320 from me, 300 from the assets, compounding assets, to produce $204,000 in profit in 2022. That's not 25 times invested to reach much more than what I need to live. So if you're going to invest in real estate and you add the element of time, if you want to invest right now with a significant amount of cash, with very little leverage to have a bigger cash flow, maybe a worse return on your money, but a bigger cash flow, yeah, it's possible. But if you add that decade that it took, it definitely doesn't take 25 times invested to reach what I wanted to live on. $200,000 a year that I didn't have to get out of bed for was plenty for me to live on. Here's the two that tend to irritate a lot of people. The first one, I'll be very clear. There are some times it makes sense to have a LLC if you invest in real estate. If you have partners, the purpose of a limited liability company is to limit your liability from other people's mistakes, not your own. When you are sued, all of your assets are your assets, and each LLC is your asset. But if you have partners, I recommend an LLC. If your investing strategy involves hard money, sometimes commercial loans, DSCR lending, and the lenders you work with require an entity to be created, then yeah, sure, have an LLC. But here's the myth I want to debunk. You have to have an LLC to invest in real estate. If you invest in real estate, you should put each one of your properties in an LLC. So my concern is for that brand new investor that doesn't even have a rental yet. And here's the hype. Goes into the Choose FI groups and says, hey, I'm thinking about investing in real estate. What do I do? And a whole bunch of people who've never owned a rental or have owned rentals for decades and have a surplus, I almost said superfluous, but a surplus of cash flow that they can waste on LLCs. And they tell that new investor, make sure you have an LLC. So now, can't house hack. It's harder to get lending. You're going to get a worse rate. Your insurance goes up. You're more likely to be sued because people think LLCs are companies that have deeper pockets than a person does. If you're in California, it all of a sudden makes your single family house that was in your name that's now in an LLC fall under rent control laws. It has like this laundry list of negatives that that person didn't need, and they don't even own a property yet. And now you can't house hack because you can't do owner-occupied lending in an entity. And a bunch of people say, well, you just commit fraud. You get that owner-occupied loan, then you move it over into the thing, into the LLC, and you hope they don't call the due on sale clause, which made sense when interest rates were going down, because if they called the due on sale clause and you had to refinance, you would get a lower interest rate than where you were at. But that's not the case where we are now. So I want to debunk that. If you want an LLC, nobody's telling you you don't need one. But if you are a brand new starting out investor and you want to put a bunch of barriers in your way, having an LLC is the easiest way to do that. And then the last thing I'll wrap up with debunking myths when it comes to investing. If you want to retire early, meaning you know that retirement is not an age, it's a number, a financial freedom number, a multiple of what it takes you to live, the cost of living that you have. Retirement accounts, I'm going to use a very professional term, are stupid. You're hoping that you retire broke, so you'll be in a lower tax bracket. You're hoping taxes don't go up in the future. You're hoping that you will benefit from your retirement accounts when you're 59 and a half or older. Sure, if you want to retire at an age, they can make sense, but I'm clearly talking to the people who want to retire early. They're counterproductive. It goes back to that very first one from Charlie Munger. If you diversify your investing strategy, you will significantly limit your ability to become wealthy. Diversification happens once we're wealthy, not to get there. So maxing out your retirement accounts might not be the best choice. Contributing for the match, sure, that makes sense. Even I did that. It irritated the crap out of me because I didn't want to do it. Because every time I can put $10 into a real estate deal, at a minimum, I was getting $1 a year for the rest of my life, every single year. So every time I didn't put $10 into real estate and I put $10 in a retirement account, I was costing myself $1 every year for the rest of my life. If you want to retire when you're older and you don't invest with a way that creates a good return on your money, retirement accounts make sense. If you work at a company that has probably lowered your wage so they can match your contribution to a retirement account, it makes sense to contribute for the match. When it comes to real estate investing, there is no one right way, but there is a one right way for you. Just because a bunch of people say something doesn't mean it's true. Kind of like, for a decade, the last myth I want to bust, that I've been busting for over 2 years now, is that there's no housing crash. First, if there was, it doesn't change how you invest. Find a good cash flowing deal that gets you the return that you're looking for, and buy the property. There are two things that tell you when to buy, not the market, not prices, not interest rates, not rents, not the projection of what's going to happen in 6 months or a year. Are you ready? Physically, mentally prepared, don't have things going on in your life that takes your mental bandwidth away from focusing on your investment, and you have the down payment, closing costs, money for immediate repairs and reserves. And did you find the right deal? A great deal. For 10 years plus, people have been screaming that there's a housing crash coming because it gets views. Fear sells. Every time somebody watches a crash video, I think we lose 2% of our competition. So I want to thank the crash bros and crash sisters out there who are making videos every couple of days with the brand new, very believable reason why there's a housing crash coming. And every time I say this, somebody in the comments says, this time it's different. 2 years now, this time it's different. Made a video a week ago where a friend of mine lost $100,000 because he listened to Peter Schiff and two friends that told him he should invest because a housing crash was coming. Literally lost $100,000, and in that same time period, I put $100,000 into a property that has now doubled in value and paid me over $2,000 a month in pure cash flow every single month since acquiring the property. Everybody salute the Crash Bros for the work they're doing for us. Now, I'm going to spend the rest of the time tonight answering questions that come up in the chat. So I did that intro, hopefully giving time for people to put questions in the chat. And this is when I like to look down and see that the chat isn't just a bunch of people saying, hey, your sound's not on, your sound's not working. That happened the other day because I don't have a 10-year-old around here to run the tech for me. Charlie. Bill. Howdy, Bill. Howdy, everybody. Every time you hit the like button, an angel gets its wings, which is true. Especially if you're a flying spaghetti monster minister and you believe in the angels. David and Dave, howdy. Second, you should have put second. Howdy, everyone. Jason, Stephan, Landlord Odyssey, howdy. All-Nighter Hider. Smoke that like button like Cheech and Chong. Dave's not here, man. Michelle Meyer, there's 395 likes. What? I wonder how many people went and looked. But that's what you have to do. You have to close down the chat, look at the thing to be able to hit it. REI Stoners, howdy. What's going on? How is your tenant selection going? Let me know. Stephan, howdy. Yeah, 14K, probably hit 15 either right around the end of the year, maybe right before. So if you know anybody who would benefit from this content, maybe you'll share the channel with them and they'll get the subscribers to put us at that 15,000 subscriber mark. Michelle, Josh, you were in the wrong chat too. I don't feel as bad. Oh, people were chatting in the members only. Nice. At least I put the members only up so people would get enough notification that that is happening tonight, 6 o'clock. Hopefully I have explained the members only enough for everybody. If you don't know what they are, let me know and I will explain it. Josh, thank you for that very much. Here's my algorithm feeding contribution. I appreciate it. That tells YouTube that somebody likes the content. If you like the content, please hit the like button. If you hate my content, if you hate me, if you don't like the myths that I dispelled, hit the dislike button. But make sure to hit it twice so I know for sure you meant it. Jason, REI Stoners. Sound Snags, howdy. I like this so much, I hit the like button 3 times. Nice, there you go. See, that's how it works. All-Nighter Hider. The likes count has been screwy on all the videos I watch for months now. Nice. Stephen asks, how many people are going to Vegas? Who's going to be there? I'm going to be there, I believe, the Monday before and until like the Tuesday after. So I'll be there for that week. We're going to have several midnight Denny's meetings with Millennial Mike and me and whoever shows up. Lumberjack Landlord, who has officially been invited, even though he makes jokes about it. And that is for the event from One Rental at a Time. That is in February. February or January? It's the 17th and 18th. Somebody that doesn't have memory issues, let me know if that's January or February. It's February, pretty sure. Because January 20th, Millennial Mike and I, and maybe other names I don't want to call it out in case it doesn't happen, we'll be at the Robin Hood Resort presenting for the Cody and Christian multifamily strategies. So that's in January. So Vegas must be February. Investor Wealth, howdy. General on Fire. Basilio, howdy. Good, you'll be there too. Tony, still wondering if there's going to be a group home in Vegas. Good question. Laura, howdy. How are you? Jason, that's what got me wanting to invest, that you are moving the money from bank to a property. Oh, thanks. Yeah, it had a huge impact on me. Every time I made the video talking about that, I actually call those videos the lost decade. Because until it dawned on me that that's what was happening, I didn't invest for 10 years because of something my brother said. REI Stoners, forgive me for not remembering all of you when we meet in Vegas. Looking forward to trading info for sure. Yes, it's difficult because not everyone's name is their actual name, and then you're dealing with chat. So it's probably a little easier for the people in the course because we get together on Zoom, and the members only, we get together on Zoom. We kind of interact a little more that way. Wealth building journey. Howdy. Glad you made it. Rob has arrived. I don't think Mike's been shot at this week. Chenda, howdy. I don't know if you remember looking at my rental listing. It's still sitting. I don't know if it's winter, it's price low, offering $500 off first month, still sitting. I would make sure that the $500 off first month is in red and it's in the first photo that shows up. People might not always skim through to the chat or to the description. They'll just see the photo and the price and then move on. But if that first photo talks about any concessions that you're offering, I don't remember looking at it. I remember that when you sent it, I did. I have a friend who has one sitting too. And I keep telling him, your expenses don't set rents. Area average rents set rents. So if somebody can rent a unit similar to yours in the area for the same or less, it doesn't matter what your mortgage is. It doesn't matter what your expenses are. Area average rents set rents. REI Stoners, I have people inquiring but not hitting the criteria, just going to hold tight as there is demand. So there are people looking. Josh, did you go with the 650 credit score that I suggested, or are you staying at the 700? Because I think the further out that you get, the less populous you get, you might need to make an adjustment on that. Jernio, howdy. Success is a Jernio. Used to be the name. Wealth building journey, like Zuber says, just get to 4. Absolutely. It can have a huge impact on you, just those 4. Stephen, I just entered into a contract and it would not have happened without rent rental at a time. You guys rock. Awesome. Congratulations. Let me know some details. Send me the info on that. Duplex Dave, howdy. And the REI Stoner, exactly. I got like 6 applicants, but applicants were getting worse one after another. Ouch. I don't want to rush either. Hope the demand picks up. Anytime someone talks about like dropping from a 700 credit score to a 650 credit score, that's not too bad. But if you have to go down to like 500, 480 or whatever the credit score is, or make some massive adjustment to your criteria, I quote Richard Branson, the creator of Virgin Airlines. He said, it's better to have a hole on your team than an a-hole on your team. So yeah, I'd wait for the right tenant. I would also maybe look at the criteria, look at the overall criteria too. Try not to be so, especially in Josh's case, if you have somebody, if you're requiring a 700, somebody applies with a 630, but you can look into their credit history and you can say, okay, there's a reason for this. Look at the whole picture. Consider co-signers. If you had somebody apply that might have been a good fit, but their credit score wasn't high enough, ask if they have somebody that can co-sign with them so you can reach back out. All-nighter hider. The history of the 1% rule. Exactly. It's my favorite because there are still people saying, I can't invest because I can't hit the 1%. Rob, the metric isn't flawed. The value is. The metric is monthly income divided by total cost to acquire. That's not how the 1% rule works. They break it down, Rob, super simple. They just go, whatever the price of the property is, they're not even talking about monthly cost, not PITI, not HOA, nothing. They're just saying, if it's worth $100,000, the rent has to be $1,000 a month or it's a bad deal. If you pay $400,000, the rent has to be $4,000 or it's a bad deal. So you're right. If you're running the 1% rule as what is my cash on cash return, it is annual profit divided by cost to acquire. That's not the 1% rule, right? That's the cash on cash return or yield method. And so it sounds like you're doing it right, like you do the way we talk about here. But when I hear the 1% rule, they literally go, I looked at a property, $735,000, 1% of that, it doesn't rent for $7,350, so I can't buy it. I know my properties hit that, but they all got better than a 10% cash on cash return. Dom's Vibranium Bicep. I like how you kind of mesh together several nerddoms there. The Coffee Ground Fund finally caught alive. Howdy. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. And I see somebody joined the members only group here. I want to make sure I get that. It was Lynn Gauzy. Let me know if I said that even close to somewhere. Hopefully I'll see you in the members only meeting tonight, 6 o'clock, here on YouTube and on Zoom. So if you're camera shy, like some people who don't want their work to know what they do, you can just watch on YouTube or have your camera off on Zoom. Dion Talk, super fan number 1. Must be me on a fake account. Dion, my brother is looking to partner with me in my future investments, but I'm unsure how to structure the agreement. Any good practical advice you can give? FYI, he's going to be less hands-on, but brings large capital investment. Okay. So if you're a super fan and you're the number 1 super fan, thank you for the super chat. And a week or 2 ago, I made a video called, how do I use my equity? Because somebody asked how they use their equity, and it was a partnership with their parents, basically, on this property. If you're going to partner, especially with friends or family, right? If you were going to partner with a stranger, you'd want everything in writing, right? You want clear expectations. When you involve family, sometimes emotions can be involved. Baggage from decades ago can come up, right? So I think when it comes to a partnership with friends or family, the most important thing is right now, while everything is puppies and rainbows and everyone's getting along, think of every possible scenario you can. What happens if you flip, buy and hold, wholesale, like all the different exit strategies you can have? What would that breakdown look like? And put it in writing now, because in 2 years, when something possibly goes wrong and emotions are high and stress level is high, that's not the time to try to put anything in writing. So not to know anything specific about the deal, but make sure, and it has to be articulable in writing that a third party can understand for a couple of reasons. When I was, like I said, demoted all the way down to the president of a commercial driver school here in Washington, we had around 60 staff towards the end. Anytime there was a disagreement with employees, somebody was complaining about something, or a student was complaining about a staff member, whatever the issue was, I would say, we're going to sit right here at this table. You're going to tell me what the problem is, but you're also going to write it down. I need you to formulate the sentences that convey the thought of the problem you're having. If you can put it in writing, it's probably actionable. If you can't think of the words to structure the sentence to put it in physical writing, then your complaint is based on emotion. Doesn't make it invalid, but it makes it not actionable. Can't fix emotional problems. We need to identify the things that can be fixed. So right now, while you're putting this together with your brother, what possible things could happen during the investment? This is where, if you have a partnership, I do recommend the LLC, right? So you're limiting your liability to someone else's mistakes. What are the expectations? He's bringing the money, you're bringing the knowledge, the deal, maybe money, whatever the thing is. What's the division of equity? What does that look like? It can be 50-50, it can be 90-10, it can be whatever you guys are agreeing to. But all of that in writing now, that you run by an attorney. Because an attorney doesn't just look at it and go, okay, this is worded right, it protects you. The attorney can look at it through the lens of a judge and go, if I went to court with this document, the judge wouldn't throw it out as being unfair, right? Even if somebody agrees, you can ask anybody who's been through divorce. You guys agree to a parenting plan. The judge can toss it out and say, nope, it's not in the best interest of the kids to do what you both agreed to as the parents. They can do that. So judges can toss out a contract if it's not fair. It doesn't have to be totally equal, right? It's just, it can't be so completely out of bounds that a judge wouldn't support it. So you want that attorney to look at the agreement that both of you do, because right now you both might think this is totally fair. The attorney might point out something you're not thinking of. And then as you walk through, I think the 6 steps to getting into real estate basically work the same when it's a partnership, right? When it's just us, the first step, learn how to save, right? It's increase your income, decrease your expenses, save and invest the difference. That's the first step. Well, how much are you guys able to save? So this month, how much money do you have to invest? If you don't find the great deal this month, what will it look like next month? So what is your saving rate versus what they're bringing to the table and what you are? That tells you what you can look for. The second thing is I talk about getting your credit score where it needs to be. Are you both working on credit scores? Because even if they bring a significant amount of capital to the deal, there's probably going to be some type of lending. And even if you go asset-based, DSCR, or those type of loans, credit score matters. Where they might not look at work history, salary, income, debt-to-income ratio, they are going to look at credit score. And the third thing, and this still follows even when it's a partnership, is you go to a lender. Here's us, right? Instead of just me this time, it's like, here's us. Here's our partnership. Here's our goals. What are our lending options? Lenders can point out things you could, oh, you need more reserves, or you need a clearer written mission statement, or whatever the lender is going to require. That's where they might go. For this commercial type of loan, you're going to need this LLC. After the lender, the two of you need to agree on the strategy. What are you doing? Is it, I have investments in the future they're just going to contribute money for, so nothing really changes for you other than you have capital to deploy and they get a return? Or is it the type of capital that they are putting in? Are they expecting a return forever? Like, here's my yield I want, and it goes on forever. Or is this, I want an exit strategy, like a syndication. In 3 years, we sell and we take the profits and repeat it, right? What is the strategy that you have both agreed to? Not looking at 5 different strategies, but 1 or 2 that work in the market that you're investing. And then 5, this is where you find your agent that knows they're working with partners, because you talk to any agent, what's the worst thing that can happen in an inspection? The buyer's parents come to the inspection. They want to know who they're dealing with. When you talk to an agent, you need to say clearly, I know I'm setting up this search criteria. I'm going to be the one working with you, but I have a capital investor, so I can't make all final decisions. It's got to go through both of us. Be clear and transparent in the beginning. And then 6, when it comes to that, these are the 6 steps to get investing in real estate. Find that video here on my channel. Do the work. Hunt for deals. What's it like to know the market? What is their expected return? What is area average? What is going on with rents in that area? All of the things that it takes to know that all of the steps that you both took there as partners. Because the last thing you want to do is put in all that effort and then not do anything with it. I hope that helps. I do appreciate the super chat. I have not partnered on real estate. I looked at buying something with Millennial Mike and it would have went along the same path, right? We would have had an LLC. We would have had everything in writing in the beginning, all clear, because everyone's getting along now. But in 2 years, when stress levels are high and something's going wrong, that's not the time to put it in writing. Then it is, here's how much money we have, how much money we can save every month. Here's our credit scores. Here's our lending options, or what type of lending we're going to do. Here's the strategy in the market. We were looking, I think, at a 5-plex in Gary, Indiana, owned by a church. Something happened and it didn't go through. And then it would have gone to, here's our agent we're using. And we would have done the work to find the deals. Primarily, I think Mike would have been the deal finder because he's the guy who knows Gary, not me. Hope that helps. Michelle, howdy. One thing I'm running into is how to convince family and friends to buy a property they will be okay to live in 2 years and then move on. They want places, money, and have money, so they can't buy. They want places, money, and have, they want money for $3. Okay. They want expensive places and they only have a little bit of money, so they can't buy. You're probably not going to want to hear my answer, Michelle, but I want to be honest and transparent. We are not in the convincing business. I have 3 kids that are over 18 now. All of them are working. All of them are making decent income. My son and his spouse paid off $54,000 in student loan and debt in 1 year. And none of them are taking action on real estate. I've offered with all 3 of them, like, I'll walk you, a whole handhold you all the way through this to get you into a duplex or something, and none of them are taking action. So I don't try. I'm here, right? If they want to come for help, I'm here to help, but I don't go, like when we go and talk, real estate doesn't come up. Friend from the Marine Corps, known him decades. We were in Desert Storm together. He worked as a mortgage underwriter and he invests in stocks and he has hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest. He's waiting. 2 years ago, he was waiting for the crash. Now he's waiting for interest rates to come down. We do not talk real estate. We just don't. So the question is, how do you convince friends and family? I don't think you do. For that dopamine hit of helping people, I think what we do, since you're here local to where I am, Michelle, is we go to the Tacoma FI group. You find people who are trying. You find like Steve and Julia. They're like, oh, we're going to try some couch flipping. But they come to the meeting, they interact with people, and they're like, oh, we're house hacking. Now they're on their second house hack. I didn't know them before meeting in a situation where the people there are there to better their finances. And then you do whatever you can to help them. You want to see your friends and family succeed, but I just did the video how listening to Peter Schiff cost my friend $100,000. I've known them for a long time. We work together. We're good friends. Took trips to Vegas together. We're this is good friends. I went to his house to share. Here's how I've found the deal for you. Here's a duplex next to the one I'm buying. It's the return I want. It hits every metric I want on here. They didn't buy it because Peter Schiff said forbearance is coming to an end. When forbearance ends, there's going to be a massive number of foreclosures. That's going to cause a surge in supply, which will make demand go down, so prices will drop. So they lost $100,000. But let me see if I can think of a way for friends. There's an answer to your question of how do you convince friends and family to buy a property? They will be okay. When I first started investing in real estate, and my brother had reached financial freedom, 10 paid off rentals using a HELOC, buy it, pay it off, buy it, pay it off, do the work himself, rinse, repeat till they got to 10, paid off the HELOC, retired. I bought that first duplex with a mortgage. And this is a familial term of love in my family. But he called me a moron because you can't invest in real estate with a mortgage. That's stupid. It's moronic, making me the moron. Second one with a mortgage. He was like, how can you handle all that debt? That's like, you bought two of them. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And you have these mortgages. How are you doing this? I would never be able to convince my brother who reached financial freedom with 10 paid off rentals to invest in real estate. But around year 5 or 6, when the cash flow from the rentals was more than I was making as a cop, when I started cycling through Corvette, Ford Raptor, for a Tundra, F-250 jacked up truck with the compensator on the back, like every year, just whatever vehicle I felt with. Hey, take my brother. Let's go to Colombia for a month. Let's go to Thailand for a month. Let's go to Portugal for almost 2 months. Now my brother doesn't think I'm so stupid. I am the example of success that might draw people into doing what I'm doing. Michelle, you are on. I've talked with you several times. You've won an hour together with me and Millennial Mike and everything. We have gone over. You're on the cusp of financial freedom. You're there, right? I don't know that you have the buffer to feel comfortable yet, right? You keep investing. You get the lifestyle when you walk away from work, even though you are enjoying the office that you're going back into next month and a half. You'll have people, friends and family, reach out and go, how do you not work? How does that work? I think that's it. Be the example. Stephen, how do you guys shop mortgage rates? Do you actually get hard quotes from each of them? I have one that doesn't seem to want to send me a written quote. So a written quote, not so much. An email, yes. And if you have a lender that won't send you an email of what their current rate would be, and it can even be an estimate because they can say, we can find out things about your credit score or the specific property that might change this in the future, right? So they can be kind of CYA on themselves there. Here's the order of operations for lending for me. And this is all done through emails. Sounds like a lot of work because it takes a couple minutes to explain, but this is done in seconds and a total of maybe 5 emails. I start with a large lender because they have the most standardized criteria. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, whatever you want to do, a big bank. Because if you qualify for the lender that's that big standard thing, most other lenders will give you less criteria. You don't need as a high, low debt to income, high credit score, all those kind of things, right? So if you get it from them, then skip the minute here. There we go. It said, now options never popped up before. I have to start watching for that. Now I get under contract on a property. That's when I go and I take the email from that lender to my other lenders. Now this is broker, Fairway, Guild Mortgage, would have been local credit unions, but I never had any luck with them. And I just say, look, I'm buying this place. I only have a day or two to make a decision here. Here's what I'm getting offered from this lender. Can you beat it? And if you get an email back in the next day, now, when the first lender pulled your credit, you get a window of 30 days where more pulls on your credit don't affect your credit score, right? So you kind of want to do this quickly. If any of them come back with beat it, now they can beat the interest rate, they can beat the cost to buy down the rate, right? There's a couple of different things you want to look at. And then if somebody does beat it by a margin well enough for me to change lenders, like if they match it, I'm not going to change lenders, but if they beat it, I take that email saying that they can beat it back to the first lender and give them a chance to keep my business. So a couple things there. If you have a lender that's not doing what you want, like giving you a written estimate in email form, not like a separate document, just an email saying this is what our current rates are based on the information we have on you, find a new lender. But that's my order of operations for lending. And it sounds like a lot of work, but it's letter from the lender, maybe a counter from 1 or 2 people, but how many of them actually beat the first one? And then the one that beats them the most, take that back to the first lender and give them a chance to keep your business. So it's 1, 2, 3 actual required emails, and maybe nobody beats it. My first 2 mortgages stayed with Wells Fargo. Nobody beat them. Then 4 mortgages and 3 refinances all went through Fairway Mortgage. Did they? Was it on Fairway? Did. Yeah, it was Fairway. So, sounds like a lot. But here's how I theorize lending. If you were going to have a deck built, and it will cost you somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000, you're probably going to get 3 estimates, 3 contractors. You're going to meet them in the afternoon. You can do it at the same time if you want. Great competition, whatever. But you're going to get 3 quotes: materials, labor, how much they want down, what their timeline on to finish it is. It's a $5,000 or $10,000 event that's going to take up a couple of weeks of your life. You're committing to a 30-year commitment for hundreds of thousands of dollars. At least do what you would do for a $5,000 or $10,000 deck. Anna Kay, howdy, from Alabama. Nice. Apple effects. I don't know what did this sparkly thing on Zoom? Like, what was that? Is there's got to be a button or something weird. iPhone can do some effects. Try doing a single and double thumbs up, single and double thumbs down. Yeah, I'm not on an iPhone, I'm on a Mac. So phone's here. Mac's there. Just in case you ever wondered, there's a phone over here, and that's how I try to see the chat, or at least the super chats, so that I don't miss them. In a mug that says, you can see the mug here, I swear by my pretty floral bonnet, I will end you. Hopefully there's some nerds here in the chat who know at least what it's from. Michelle, if my goal was to be super rich, I would think once I am there, I can help, but I just want enough to live on myself, right? So be that example. When you can take care of yourself and you don't need a job, that is something a lot of people might not even think is possible. The wealth building journey. An LLC can protect your partner's mistakes from being a pain in your asset. Perfectly said. Thank you. And then Lynn, thank you for joining the members. Valentino, howdy. Yeah, so true about the LLCs to invest. Thanks to you, I realized this idea and pushed heavily by my CPA. That's right, because the CPA gets to file for you and your LLC and any other LLCs you have. Each one racks up a nice little new charge for them. So weird that the attorneys that set them up, the CPAs that maintain them and file taxes on them, would recommend that you have them. It's almost like money is a motivating factor. Love calves, howdy. Energizer Bunny, howdy. As a 30-year insurance person, know that insurance doesn't cover everything a tenant can sue you for, so you need to know you are self-insuring some risks. Discrimination suit, yes, but an LLC does not protect you from that at all, in any way whatsoever. That's the other thing. So what the LLC does is it protects you from partners' mistakes. It lets you acquire certain things in lending, but there is no asset protection with an LLC. More and more common judges are piercing the veil. So if you can Google that, you can look up more and more common judges are piercing the veil. But in the counties where I invest, and I have confirmed now, it's not just the 2 that I invest, it's the 3 that I'm in now. The systems here use the 1996 IRS precedents that all sole member LLCs are considered disregarded entities. They don't even exist in a lawsuit. It's just your assets in your name. So if you have an LLC and you sleep good at night because you think my assets are separated, still have insurance, still have an umbrella policy, still have good reserves. And the most impactful thing you can do to help you in a lawsuit is be proactive. Fix things in a timely manner, correct issues that tenants bring up. Do inspections or have a man to do inspections for safety concerns. If you have stairs with banisters or anything like that, make sure it's being inspected. And then remember, Energizer Bunny, having an LLC makes you more likely to be sued than not having an LLC, because the perception from attorneys is that corporations have deeper pockets than a person does. And then Energizer Bunny took messages back to McNeeley, sleep and wonder forever and ever what was said. Love Cat, it's been a long time since I catch a live. I'm still here. This is the, what, 102nd live stream. So I planned on doing one live stream, my very first one, and it's literally titled, Why I Don't Do Live Streams. Thought it would be the only one. And here we are, 102. Tuesday live streams later. There's a bunch of live streams throughout the weeks, but Michelle, one more thing. Still looking for a tax accountant and have talked to two of them that came recommended. So now I'm listening to Mark JK to see what questions to ask and not leave them to ask me. Good strategy. I'm not sure. I believe I'm switching to the one that Matt the Lumberjack uses next year on Bob Langworthy. I think that's his name. And my chat moved, which is awesome. Appreciate that. Means there's questions. We have another hour to go because there is a members only live stream tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hope to see you there. And where was it? Being English as a second language and not knowledgeable about taxes makes it hard to know who could be good. They can know, but how do I know they are applying the best tax strategies? Michelle, have you heard Matt talk about looking for an EA instead of just a CPA? But an EA, I believe, don't know for sure. Matt quotes this often, so I'm quoting his quotes, and my memory is not great. But an EA passes an extra exam every year that makes them something agent that's more current on the taxes. So consider that. Wealth building journey. And you're also hoping there isn't runaway inflation between now and the time you plan to retire. Totally agree. That's why one of the things I do like about real estate is it's a hedge against inflation. The more inflation there is, the more money we actually tend to make in real estate. Energizer Bunny, no LLC for exactly what you said in California would be subject to rent control. Yeah, that for me is one of the great reasons not to have it. Wealth building journey, Michelle, to follow Matt the Lumberjack, right? Check out Bob Langworthy, enrolled agent. There you go. Thank you, Chester, who works out of Maine. My current tax person is in Alaska, so I don't care what state they're in because I live in a state that doesn't have state income tax. I don't care about the state's rules that much. It's federal, and so federal taxes are federal taxes. Neo Collective, howdy. Kiyosaki's been warning about the crash since 2010. Yes, but his crash isn't so much about housing. His is an economic failure. Have gold, ammunition, and coffee beans in your house. I love his first two books. I don't know if there's first two, but the two I like, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant. The rest of it kind of goes off the deep end. Landlord Odyssey, that was a great list. Thank you. Much appreciated. Dawn's Vibranium Bicep. I have been trying to get myself ready for purchase by getting liquid and debt payment done. How do you deal with realtor who won't negotiate the price you think a house is worth? New realtor. They're the employee, you're the boss. Have a reason. Like if it's brand new on the market, it's been out there for one day and there's a lot of demand in your market, yeah, it's a waste of everybody's time to make a lower offer. But if it's been sitting for a while and you can justify, hey, the average days on market in our county is whatever it is. And the counties where I'm at, it's between 6 and 9 days on market. If it's on for 30 days, 45 days, yeah, a lower offer starts to make sense. So make sure your offer, run it by a few people and say, this is the property I'm looking at. This is how much it's listed for. This is how many days on market it is, because days on market is the only metric that makes the price go down. Doesn't matter what the comps are. No one cares. Whatever the listed price is, that's the price that matters to the seller. Days on market will make them adjust it. New agent, and work with at least 3. Have at least 3 auto searches set up. Be transparent. Tell them I'm going to work with a lot of agents. The only work you have to do though is set up my auto searches. And to be clear here, if you're a home buyer and you're going to have an agent take you and show you 10 or 15 or 20 homes, that agent should protect their time and sign an exclusivity agreement with you. So they're the only agent you work with. But if you're an investor and you say, look, I want you to set up an auto search, you're not really going to hear from me much unless I want to make an offer. And then if it's something you sent me, you get the commission. You're going to be the person I work with. In social media world, I've had some agents say, I would never agree to that. But in the real world, outside of social media, I've never had an agent hesitate. They go, all I have to do is 10 to 20 minutes to set up your search criteria and an auto search for the chance at a commission in the future. Because I've never, and I do say never, never seen a property before making an offer. I did come and see this one once we were under contract, so I had to think. Me and Mike drove out here to find out if it really was a duplex. I was trying to confirm that before I scheduled the inspection to confirm that, because I can confirm it without money. But still, so no agent has ever had me make an offer on a property that has then taken me to see the property. Landlord Odyssey, are you looking for your next deal? How do I answer this without sounding... I got that green privilege, right? People talk about white privilege, but I was poor, divorced parents, dad left when I was 8, worked in the onion fields with my mom. Like, I had all this, missed out on the white privilege thing. But I have green privilege now, which means my cash flow from my rental properties is more than 4 times what it takes me to live. So the money builds up, and yeah, I bought another property, and it's going to build up, and I'll buy another one. During my members only lives, what we do is, and this is why I do them as members only, is because we're really boring here on YouTube. Because really what we do is I open my emails, or we open one of the people's emails that's in the meeting, and we look at an email from the agent, we look at a deal, and we go through stream of consciousness. What would we look at? Age of building, area, number of units, how can we verify? Is there an HOA? Like all the things you go through, and it takes 10 seconds when you're not explaining it. But we take 10 minutes to really break down a deal, to learn the skill of looking at deals. I almost don't want to look at my agent's listings. I would prefer, I'll do it if nobody has one to suggest, but during the members only, I'm hoping people come and go, hey, my agent sent me these, let's look at it. Or, let's look at one you don't want, so you don't create competition, but we can break down what is good or bad about it. Because when I open mine, I'll probably find a great deal, and I'll probably buy it. Don't compare someone's after year 10 to year 1 or 2 or 3. Like in growth phase, I looked every single day, 20, 30 minutes, right? And didn't do the thing where you take 4 hours on a Saturday. I did with Zuber from one rental at a time. So it's 20 or 30 minutes every single day, look at deals, like scratching lottery tickets, looking for the next thing that's going to increase my cash flow. Super excited about each one. Reaching financial freedom, then retiring with the multiple of my cash flow that I wanted. I don't want any more deals. The money's got to go somewhere. So am I looking for the next deal? No, but when I see it, I am probably going to buy it. Does that sound douchey? Green privilege, that's what it's called. Let's get all of you to where you have green privilege. BuzzTune, howdy. Daniel Pitchler, howdy. Looking sexy. So tell me what you think about trusts. Sorry that it takes me so long to get to your message there, Dan. I'll reach out to you later and see if you saw this. If not, I'll explain it in a text. But if anybody remembers, Dan is the actual Dan that's been on my channel, who retired last year in August after 4 years of investing in real estate with enough cash flow for him and his wife to ride off into the sunset on their Harleys. But corporate structure and entities, an LLC makes sense if you're protecting yourself from partners. Makes sense if your lending requires it. It doesn't offer asset protection. It doesn't have any tax benefits. All of those things, right? So an LLC protects you from someone else's mistakes. A trust protects your heirs, not you, your heirs, from the government taxing them. Now, currently, I think the inheritance tax is like 5 million. It could be 10 or 15. Somebody Google before you quote me on that, because my memory's not good. And I've never really worried too much about inheritance because I ain't going to be here. Neither will you. It's a them problem. But if your assets are worth more than 5 million, yeah, a trust might make sense. But if you have 4 or 5 properties and the value is 2 or 3 million and you're under the inheritance tax, That's what the trust is for. The trust is to protect your heirs from taxation. So, like Matt the Lumberjack landlord, with the size of his portfolio and the fact that he is in his 40s and all of his kids are under 5, absolutely a trust makes sense. For me, I might do one. I tell all my kids, look, first, when I'm 65, I'm going to marry an 18-year-old and they're going to get everything. So you're not getting anything anyway. So what are you worried about? Because I don't want them to think that their retirement depends on me passing away. I want them to do something on their own. And then, yeah, because they don't never watch my content this far in, they're going to inherit millions. And yeah, it's 6.5 million right now in value. So a trust probably makes sense. I'll probably do a trust in the next couple of years. So I support that. As long as it's not something you do right when you're starting out that puts barriers in between you and your next investment property. Dale, howdy. My brother and my nephew's name. Josh, I have 2 deals I'd like to cover tonight. Members, awesome. Perfect. Thank you. I don't have to look at my deals. Much appreciated. All-nighter hider. We may want to warn Denny's with a reservation call. We just go in and move all the tables around. Yes, it's February. It's the week of the Super Bowl. Nice. That's the sports ball game, right? The game with the 2 teams. Why does the away team have so many different uniforms? Michelle, when in January, I want to go to Robinhood. It's on the 20th. 20th. Anna, awesome. Looking forward to see you in Vegas too. Daniel, private trusts are amazing, but a bit of an advanced strategy. Yeah, so Dan's at the right point. He's got the cash flow from the portfolio to create the trust. My brother created one. I think my niece and nephew are waiting for him to die to retire. But yeah. Me and my brother are over 30. Once you've made it over 30, we just call it a good run. Don and Bev Perkins, howdy. Bev and I will be there for Mike's, but probably not until Friday, trying to decide if come back for the billiards tournament next weekend. Nice. I didn't know there was a billiards tournament. And this is what I say to everybody if I'm ever at a bar and they say, hey, do you want to play some pool? I'll say, I've always wanted to try. Same thing with chess. I've always wanted to try play chess. Wealth building journey. For meetups, do both so long as we're comfortable with it. Give regular name and YouTube handle once we get in Vegas, not here on YouTube. There you go. Yeah, in person. I think it's best, like if Josh walks up and goes, hey, my name's Josh. You've probably seen REI Stoners in here, right? Like, I think that's kind of the format to go with. Wombat Striker, howdy. I use the binder strategy on my county tax assessor to get my future tax base dropped from a 36.5% increase to a 21% increase from current. Still a bit change, but definitely less bad. Thanks. That is pretty much exactly how it works. My brother's gone into the county tax assessor several times, and you use exactly the same strategy as the binder. Here are the comps that show what everyone else is doing. Let me educate the assessor on the decision you're making doesn't seem to match with the evidence that I see. Because if you do the work for them, just like the binder strategy works with Section 8, got my Section 8, basically asked me, because they agreed, to raise the rent in January on my Section 8 tenant who's already above area average rents. So also, for the people who hate landlords that aren't watching the video at this far in, right? They dipped out a long time ago. A tenant can use the binder strategy to get their rent lowered. Like I said, your expenses and what somebody was paying for rents last year doesn't set rents. Area average rents set rents. So if you're in an area like Detroit and the car manufacturers moved away for the next couple of years when there was all those vacant houses and people could rent for less, instead of moving, people could take a binder, look up 5 rentals with the same number of bedrooms, put them in the binder, take it to their landlord and say, here's what rent I would pay if I moved out of your place. But I don't want to move, and you don't want to have to do the rehab that would be required if I had moved, and then you'd probably have to lower the rent anyways to get somebody back in here. Why don't we lower my rent? What do you think is fair? It goes both ways. REI Stoners. I changed it to 660, but had a person with a 700 inquire and then never follow through. Interesting. Yeah, they probably found the place they were looking for. Aldo, howdy. Thanks for all the help and the knowledge. Thank you for hanging out with us. I appreciate it. Wombat Strucker, I wouldn't have had a clue how to fight it effectively without you talking about binder in government offices for Section 8. Awesome. That is amazing. Glad it worked. Christine, howdy. Did I answer your question the other day? I went back and forth a little bit. If I missed the last text, just send it again. Sorry. Duplex Dave. Question. I find that my area market rent is about 200 to 300 below what Section 8 is paying. That does happen. I have good tenants now, but I am obviously leaving quite a bit of money on the table compared to Section 8. Thoughts? So I don't like to kick tenants out, but I think it's a great time to use the binder strategy. I do often include fair market rents in my binder strategy. Fair market rents, BAH from the base, and the comps that you find in the area are examples that you can use. So instead of kicking the tenants out, and instead of Duplex Dave, thinking you know what they would say, Michelle and Dan are both examples of this. They both went to their tenants and they said, mentally, I want the rent to go up 150, maybe $200. The tenant went from wherever they were at to over $1,600, which was a bigger increase than Dan or Michelle were thinking of. Both Dan and Michelle said, that sounds good. Why don't we go with this number that makes more sense to me, to us? Binder, include Section 8. Literally say, Section 8 generally is not very high rents. They're paying more than what I'm collecting. Are you on a military installation? What's the average BAH for that area? But binder strategy your tenants and say, look, if I had you move out, this is what I can get. What do you think is fair? See what they say. Dividend Dave with our daily dad joke. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. When it comes to trusts, I have trust issues. My son would be proud. My son's the pun master. Rob, I don't need to ask if Mike was shot at this week. He said he asked a new girl out last week. I assume by this week she wants to kill him. That's probably accurate. Bronco, howdy. What's up, Dion? Looking at days on market like you suggested for 6 months, still doesn't make sense to buy yield or cash flow here. Wondering if my market is too expensive now. So if you're watching for 6 months on market, how much lower than the list price are you offering? Right? Let's say they're asking for $1 million, but it doesn't make sense unless you offer 200,000. Offer 200,000. Right? Make those offers if they sit long enough, and that's the number that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, if you're in a cash flow negative market, like they exist, right? There's places where it's just buy and hold residential apartment investing might not be the strategy that works there. What's going on with the storage space? Is the asset class that you're considering the one to look at? When I first wanted to do investing in real estate, I wanted to buy single family houses because I understood it. I lived in one. I could rent it out. I knew how that worked. And I could buy one, live there with my kids, but they don't cash flow. So I went to small multifamily. Is it house with ADU? Is it divided house? Is it the 2-bedroom house that's over 1,200 square feet where you think maybe there's a 3rd bedroom in there that you could build once you make it, once you own it, right? Like where's the value add? Once you really decide, okay, I've studied my market, even lower offers on days on market aren't working out. I expanded my market, right? I was in 2 counties. I went out. I found about 11 more markets outside of that in 3 more counties. 2 of those counties made sense because remote workers had started moving out there. So prices haven't been pushed up because remote workers don't want to buy. They might be called back into the office, but rents have been pushed up because the demand is there. So I found 2 new markets that I focused on and found deals and made offers until I got this one. Actually, I got 2 under contract back out of the other because I only wanted 1, and this is the better of the 2. Expand your market out a little bit. Look at the different asset classes and make ridiculous offers based on it's been on the market longer than normal. Don't assume you know what the seller's thinking. If it's been sitting for long and they have to sell, you make a weird offer where it makes numbers that make sense to you. They might agree or they might counter at something. They might counter like, here's the numbers, and I've broken this down before. So sorry if this bores you. This place originally listed for 500. I offered 4 because it was on the market over 100 days. Now Zoom is giving me a thumbs up in the Zoom. What is that? That's so weird. All right, Zoom is messing with me. I give up. They counted at 477. I said 4. They counted at 444 and I said 4. They counted at 422 and I walked away when the other one accepted my offer. Then they called back and said, hey, we'll take your 4 if it's still on the table, which it was. So I canceled the other deal. It could be a ridiculously low offer compared to what's listed there. And it might be back and forth to get you there. Why did Zoom do that? Tom's Vibranium Bicep. Question. How do you deal with realtors who refuse to present your value offer to a particular property? So I kind of, Dom, there was a question a bit earlier that sounded very similar to this. New agent, period. You're the boss, they're the employee, right? They work for their commission, so they're not a W-2 employee. You don't tell them where to work, when to work, what to wear, but you do tell them what to do, and that's to make the offers you want to make. And if they refuse, no problem, new agent. Like maybe a 5-minute conversation to explain, here's why I want to make the low offer. It's days on market. It's overvalued based on these comps, whatever your justifiable reason is. In a 5-minute conversation, they come back and they say, I still want to submit that. Thanks, no problem. And you find a new agent. REI Stoners, weird thing is we have had at least 3 applicants that qualify and then they never follow through. Maybe they find something better they like is what we figured. I think you are often on a clock. When somebody qualifies, meaning they've paid for the application, you want to reach out and be prompt on your responses. They're judging you and your response time, just like we're judging them on their response time and their communication style. So hopefully you're being quick, but yeah. Laura agrees. Thank you, Laura. I agree. Get a new realtor. And it's a snap decision. You got 5 minutes to convince me why. Ninja Vanish. Howdy. I see you jumped in late, Ninja. Hopefully you saw the notification that at 6 o'clock tonight, there is a members only live stream. Hope to see you there. Oculus One. Howdy. Can you talk about your process for preventative maintenance? Yes. So preventative maintenance, it's out of reach. Actually, bought another one for someone else. Maybe I could share it here. No, I don't want to do that. Because they might watch the video. Keep track of when things were done, right? When a handyman goes in to fix anything, so somebody should be in your property at least once a year. Winterization should happen, and so depending on your area, that can be as much as draining sprinkler systems, right, or whatever. In my area, it's putting on the faucet covers that stop freezing in the winter. If you have an HVAC, at least once a year, replace a filter, and I leave filters for tenants to replace as long as they're got almost all of them. It's like you slide it out and slide it in. There's not even a closing for it to do the filters. The tenants do it, but then there's another one where you got to open the wall. Have my handyman replace the filter there. Yard maintenance is handled by the tenants at all but one of my places. One place it's handled by a local lawn care service. So that's an easy one. The roofs basically have a ticking timer on how many years goes by until they need to be replaced. So when you buy it, you need to know how old the roof is and then kind of plan on the longevity of that roof and be planning to replace it when it's time. If you're in a place like Washington State, we have these pine needle buildups. So I have certain roofs that are cleaned every year, and it's less than, and I did a video on this. On Facebook Marketplace, you can find roof cleaners for $600 to $800. In Thumbtack, I found 4 estimates in less than 10 minutes for $200 to have roofs cleaned. But the problem with pine needle buildup is the pine needles build up on top of vents, and then it'll make a puddle of water, and the puddle of water will take it up above to where it leaks into the roof. So those type of roofs get cleaned more often. Sometimes not the full $200. $200 is a complete moss cleaning and spreading the moss killer. But the pine needle stuff is like $50 and they go out like Say, when did they go out? I would say twice a year, so every 6 months that happens. My handymen are in, so when it comes to maintenance on the properties, when a tenant has an issue, they generally communicate with me the very first time. I'll put them in a group chat with a handyman once they have had an interaction with a handyman the first time they've gone there to replace a whatever dishwasher, fix a drawer, one case, attach a screen door, whatever they've done, and they've had a positive interaction with that tenant. Then I'll tell the tenant in that group text that this is your ability to reach out to the handyman to take care of any issues. And then I send a private message to the handyman reminding them that, now that you're dealing with that tenant, you have the ability to do repairs there, take pictures before and after, up to $500. You don't have to get my approval. Anything more than that, or that's going to replace any appliances, then you need to reach out and I'll handle the online shopping for that. So setting up those systems happened over several years. In the beginning, it wasn't that smooth. It took a long time to do anything. I'm trying to think of other maintenance issues that happen. This is something that I say to the tenants when I'm signing a lease with the tenant. There are so many times I've heard landlords say, I went to my rental and I went to fix something, or the handyman sent me a picture and the inside of the place was dirty. There's messes around or whatever. Write this down if you're a landlord. I'm not going to try to sound like a douchebag. You don't live there. The tenant does. That's their house. Yes, if the outside is messy and it can mess with the neighbors, or if there's such a cleanliness issue where it attracts rodents, okay, then I'm going to get involved. But I don't care. I tell them you can paint access walls. You can, minor things that you're going to do around the house. I don't care. I don't live here. Yeah, your deposit's going to pay for things I need to take it back to this state when you move out. But some people will say, I want to make sure I go look in my properties and make sure they're taken care of. I don't care. Tenant's going to pay for the problems when they move out. It's not my problem. And because I don't care and because I don't check, I have one of the reasons is I have very little tenant turnover, because so many landlords micromanage their tenants on things that don't matter to the owner other than in their head it's a thing. So I hope that helps. Jason, the course is different from the membership. Is that correct? Yeah. So the course is very different. So the memberships, we're literally just looking at deals. We get on Zoom, we look at deals, we break them down, and that's really what the focus is. The course membership, generally, it's the course. You're buying the course. It's at DionTalk.com. I have $100 off for this for now, and then all of the month of December. Every Tuesday after the lives, we're going to do a 1-hour Zoom, maybe longer sometimes, where we literally get into the nuances of your investing, your strategy, your market, any questions you have on the steps to reaching financial freedom, like really deep diving into your situation. That happens during the course. That doesn't happen in the members only. So yeah, they're totally different. Dom says to Laura, it's been happening with each realtor I deal with, unfortunately. Send me an email of a listing and an offer that you wanted to make that an agent said no to. So my email is here. No, that's not what I want to use. On Mac. So Dom, send me a listing that an agent said they wouldn't submit an offer, and what was the offer. And then if you can in that email, tell me why you wanted to make that offer. And I'll think maybe there's something I'm missing that your agent might be correct on or wrong. REI Stoners, have you done any landscaping on any of your properties? Would adding fruit trees be a value add as well as raised garden beds? I have not, and I don't. In our area, it wouldn't get more rents. There might be some places where it gets good rents. A friend of mine, who you might recognize from some stories I tell, has 30 paid off rentals and retired early, and used to be an agent with 19 agents working for him. And in 2021, he said, don't buy real estate because Peter Schiff says there's a crash coming. One time shared his story of putting in like a koi pond and really landscaping the whole yard. Got the tenant in there, went by there a few months later, and it was just garbage heap, basically. So he just took it out, flat yard. I've done landscaping where, yeah, put in grass or something, but nothing fancy. I have tenants that have raised gardens that they can put in. I like I said, with the accent, all tenants can do this. They live there, not me. So if tenants want to have a garden, absolutely welcome to. I haven't put them in because I don't think it gets you higher rents, and I don't like the idea of fruit trees. And attack me all you want. The climate is going to kill the world because people are doing too much. But have you ever traveled anywhere? Do you see how much land is not developed by human? Fly from one place to another. You see tiny little spots of cities, billions of acres of forest that's out there. So I'm not saying don't plant a fruit tree because I don't want the earth to be green, right? There's more trees in Washington now that we've been doing tree farming than there was at any point in history. The property that I have fruit trees on, I know I have it on one. Are there more? I think it's just one. It's the biggest nuisance piece of crap tree that constantly drops. I mean, we're in Washington. You have an apple tree here, it's going to produce apples. They shovel out trash cans full of apples to throw away. Frank Contreras. Howdy, Frank. Hopefully I'll see you in the members only tonight at 6 o'clock. Should I put my properties in an LLC for the extra protection? Yes, Frank, you should. Of all the people, you absolutely should. Actually, Frank, you should do it for the tax write-offs. And if anybody just queued into the video to watch just this 1 minute, they're going to go, oh my God, this guy's stupid, doesn't know anything. Because one, there's no tax benefits to having an LLC. And two, there's no asset protection unless you have partners. And Frank, you and Cynthia being married doesn't count as partnership. Thank you for the laugh. Buddies, howdy. Laura, it's better if you can find a realtor who is also a real estate investor. Not easy to find them. Unfortunately, you have to educate them. Like Dion said, they are not our mentor. They're not your lender, and your agent are not your mentors. Your lender's job is to sell loan products, and your agent's job is to close transactions. So even if they're successful as investors, sometimes we have trouble educating them because we might be investing in a different asset class than what they normally do. And then I saw, go up until I saw. I've lost my place in the chat. I apologize. Carlos, howdy. What's up, y'all? First live, normally watching Futureland. Is a utility pole in the middle of the backyard a deal breaker? Not sure how potential renters feel about that. Wouldn't hesitate thinking about that for a second. Is it odd in your area? That might impact the amount of rent that you get. Is it normal in your area? Tenants are probably fine with it. Most of my properties have utilities attached. Yeah, they're all. The triplex has a weird box off to the side. I think it's weird. It doesn't impact my rents. I don't think it would be a deal breaker at all. Is it to code? Is it legal? Is it safe? Does it interfere with something else in the yard? Can it affect your rents? If it's not normal for the area, yes. I would look at it from that lens, not it's a deal breaker. That's not how I would look at it. Dom to Laura, the frustrating part is when I ask them to put that decline in writing, they tiptoe around the conversation. Well, yeah, not bad. Kenny, howdy. So do you always go see the property or at least have someone do it for you before you submit an offer? I think I misspoke or was misheard. So I'm going to speak slow and clear. I have never, and I had to think when I said it the first time to make sure it was 100% true, which it was, never seen a property before making an offer. So I look at about 100 properties to find 20 that kind of make sense. And out of those 20 offers that I make, I might get one accepted. That was kind of like the math. Look at 100, 20 offers, one accepted. I was working full time and raising 3 kids. There's no way in the world I had time to go look at 20 properties. But when I had one accepted and I had an appraisal contingency, financing contingency, and I had an inspection period, right? I had a 5 to 10 day period, depending on the market at the time, of how many days I had to make up my mind without losing my earnest money to then go look at the property. The key to this was knowing my markets. I know that if you're in the town of Tumwater, Washington, and you're anywhere near 301 T Street or a half a mile around it, you don't buy. If you're in the Tacoma area and you are anywhere within 3 blocks of either side of McKinley Avenue, you don't buy. If you're in between Tacoma and Spanaway in the county of Pierce County, where I invest, and there's Highway 7, which is mostly public transit and homeless issues, if you're at least 1 or 2 blocks off of the side of that entire bisection, you don't buy. 3 blocks over, 4 blocks over, I'm fine. Like, I know my markets that well. I'll make offers and then go look. The only reason I came to look at this one before scheduling an inspection, like I'd already had the accepted offer, is because I couldn't tell if it was, it's my handyman. No, I can't answer. He's not doing work for me right now. I'll call him back in 15 minutes. If he was doing something for me, I would answer that, and you guys would hear a handyman call. But he's got some colorful language, so that wouldn't have been smart. Pretty sure he was professional when he was around Josh and Mary, because he doesn't know you guys as well. So Kenny, I hope that answers. I've never seen him. The only reason I came to look at this one is the listing didn't clearly indicate was it a duplex or not. The word duplex was used once in the description, but it wasn't. It was checked off a single family house. The pictures didn't show that there were 2 meters, which there are. The pictures didn't show 2 entrances, which there are, 2 separate area entrances. Like, I had to come out here physically. Me and Mike looked up the place and go, yeah, that's the dumbest listing they've ever done. Peter, howdy. Dividend Dave, EAs don't need to retest every year. Okay, good. Thanks for correcting me. They just need to satisfy continuing education requirements. They can take courses, etc., but no tests are required. Awesome. I knew it was something where it was something every year had to be done. Don and Bev Perfects. Living trust gets you past probate too. That's what I mean. It protects your heirs, so they don't have to deal with probate, because probably wrong on this, but it's like you have the members of the board of the trust. When you go away, somebody else just assumes the role, right? That's them, like kindergarten level of knowledge of something I haven't done yet, right? So your kids and the 18-year-old wife don't have to fight over what you want, and also doesn't let an attorney make a bunch of money off of your assets when you retire. Love it. All-nighter hider. Maybe start the conversation in writing via text or email. Trap them before they know what's going on. That way you can also document if they ignore you and not serving your best interest. Not so much document, I like that, but I think it's so you can judge how fast they respond, because that does matter. Dom has, I'm hoping, a dad joke, because I'm just going to read it. That's the thing. So if it's bad language, I apologize in advance. Did you hear about the actor who broke his leg on stage? He's still in the cast. Nice. I'm going to have to send that to my son, because he is the king of puns. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I do appreciate that, because all of the jokes that I know working in the Marine Corps and law enforcement, I can't say here. Investor 793, howdy. Can you briefly explain how you legally avoid taxes, depreciation, interest, property taxes, insurance, and additional expenses? Am I missing anything? So let me break this down. Can you briefly explain how you legally avoid taxes? That's probably the right way to phrase that, because what you want to do is make sure you're legal. Because, and write this down, while prison is the ultimate house hack, it's not my chosen form of retirement. I have been investing for over 10 years. Last year, the profit was over $204,000. It's been 6 figures for several years. I've still not paid a penny in rental income tax because of depreciation and write-offs. And some years, I don't take all of the write-offs that I want. I always use the depreciation, because if you ever go to sell and you didn't use your depreciation, it's not like you get to save any money. The IRS assumes, because when you make an assumption, they make an ass out of you an umption. They assume all depreciation was utilized. So you have to recapture it even if you didn't take it. So take the depreciation. And the reason I say that is because if you go to get a loan to be bankable, the lenders take the depreciation out so they can actually see what your income was. That's why some years I had chose, maybe I'm going to use all my write-offs, maybe I'm not. That's why we hire a tax pro to tell us when we should or shouldn't. Generally, I'm always carrying forward a loss, but I look like I'm running a profitable business so that I can get the next mortgage. Property taxes, here's how I avoid property taxes. My tenants pay them. What is profit? All the money that comes in minus principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, and future money for repairs and vacancy. All of those expenses are paid from the rents. My profit is what's beyond that. So my tenants pay for repairs. They buy the next refrigerator. They buy the next garage door, which I need to get a couple of. They pay the property taxes. So it's like the meme says on Facebook, all the people saying, why did my rent go up? I voted for higher property taxes, not higher rent. Well, who do you think pays property taxes? The tenant. Insurance, go for several quotes. I spent at least it was about an hour. And with my insurance rep the other day, making sure everything was up to date and current, and spend that hour because I need to do at least 2 hours a month to feel normal, to accepting all the money that comes in from owning rentals. Interest, tenants pay it, depreciation, beautiful thing. We're always going to have depreciation because it's almost like Congress is full of people who own properties that keep making laws that benefit people who own properties. So weird. And are you missing anything? Future expenses. So current expenses, utilities, HOA, whatever you're going to have on your rental, that's expenses. But what you're missing there is future expenses, CapEx and vacancy. So been investing for over 10 years in real estate. And after my first year, I've never had a vacancy. If I have a unit open, there's a line of people waiting to go. And if I list, you get so much demand that the hard part is getting everything done before the next tenant moves in. I still set aside 5% per vacancy, right? Even though I have a decade of experience that says it's not going to happen. So hopefully that was brief and explained it. It's one of the benefits of real estate. And buying great deals is what allows that to happen. If you buy a deal where the rents don't cover your expenses, then the tenants aren't paying all those things, you are, right? You have to buy the right deals and hold them long term. That really matters too. Let me see. Maybe the handyman texted me, said to call him. Okay, we'll be doing that. All right. All-nighter hider. A private non-statutory trust is the holy grail. No books needed to ever be filed or submitted. The business still needs to be run lawfully, though. No funny business. Again, prison is the ultimate house hack. It's not my choice for retirement. I'm going to go through the last couple of questions here. We're wrapping up pretty soon because I want to be able to be ready for the members only live stream at 6 o'clock Pacific in a few minutes. REI Stoners. I don't think people read it. It says 3-bed, 1-bath duplex, and people just don't see the duplex part. Maybe show a image from the street showing both, so that you should only see the interest of people who understand it's a duplex. Oculus, I used your flat rate water tactic on a duplex with 1 meter, set it too low, and now trying to binder strategy the water trash fee. Worked on one side, we'll see on the other. Yeah. So if you're doing the binder strategy on that, do it at lease renewal and binder strategy the rent and the utilities. And then bring some of the stubs to show, look, here's what the actual bills are. That's why this needs to be done this way. Michelle, since I only have 2 properties, I went and did roof cleaning myself. The long-term tenant reminded me next year I will pay someone. I should forward you my roof cleaner number, Michelle. I don't know. I mean, your southern property, he would definitely go to if you go up towards your one that's a little bit further north, but it was $200 and he did like 3 or 4 duplexes that time I was doing it. Laura, I made the offer first. I saw the property for the first time on the day of the inspection. That's how almost all of mine go, except for this one. You can always back out, but if you want to see it property first, someone else may get it. Yeah, it's a time scheduling thing and a time saver thing for me too. Remember, Dan Pitchler says, can't drink all day unless you start early. How do I join membership? Carbor 21. Sometimes it's because the device you're on. There should be a join button on your, nope, doesn't show up here either. So it's either Apple or Android, whatever it is. You have to log in on a laptop or a computer on a browser into YouTube, and then there's a button that says join. You join the membership. Different tiers don't really mean anything. It's just if you want to support me more, great, awesome. But either tier gets you into the members only live streams that happen twice a month. Usually I try to do them on weekends. Tonight we're doing it on a Tuesday because I'm not doing a course video tonight, but through the entire month of December, Tuesdays are dedicated to course videos, even if there's a holiday. So we'll see that. Course videos are saved in the course, so they're there for Futureland. Mike, howdy. Do you have a suggestion on how college student rental should be run? Rough process. My best suggestion is if somebody reached out, Mike, and said, hey, how do you invest at a distance? I'd say, go watch Millennial Mike. How do you self-manage a bunch of VERS, rehabs, in a portfolio of over 100 units, the most effective and efficient way? Here's the lumberjack landlord. If somebody says, how do I rent by the room, which is what I would look at as a college student format, you're going to rent by the room. I suggest Todd Baldwin. I want to put his name in here. He stopped producing stuff on YouTube, but he's still on Instagram. He'll answer questions. He does the strategy renting by the room, and he's got some great strategies. One of the biggest conflicts you'll get when you rent by the room is the shared common areas if you have different levels of cleanliness with your tenants, right? So he removes that by hiring a professional crew to keep the common areas clean, providing cleaning materials and stuff like that. How he sets his rents, how he maintains his leases, all of that stuff from Todd Baldwin is probably your best source of information for doing college. I generally do entire unit long-term leases. I do have one that is a 3-person roommate situation. All 3 of them signed the full lease, right? One of them has a co-signer because the credit score wasn't high enough. So they're all responsible for the full amount. So if one of them is late, they're all late. And then that issue works for them because they're friends. It's not like I'm renting out different rooms by college. So it's not really my thing. To answer that question best, I would suggest you reach out to Todd Baldwin, or at least go back and watch a bunch of his YouTube videos and BiggerPockets interview. He was on there once for sure, maybe more. But to me, it's pretty much the same as a multifamily unit, right? Instead of renting out units, you're renting out rooms. You have a lease with the person that explains everything, their area of responsibility, what the common areas are. Oh, same thing with your late fees, with loud noise, right? Anything else. So I've got in some places where you have washer dryer hookups. If it's in the garage, I generally don't care. But if it's inside where it can be loud, it's no laundry after a certain time of night. Even if they're in separate units. I prefer garages in the middle, so they don't care, but not all of my units hit all of my criteria. And we'll probably be wrapping up here in a few minutes. Look and see if there's any questions here too. Like all-nighter harder putting in case law here. That's good stuff. Cool. I think we'll be wrapping up there. Beginning of this video, if you get a chance to go back and watch it, I think I talked about 7, possibly 8 things on the real estate investing myths. After the live stream, if you could do me a favor and in the comments, leave a comment that says, and it might be some other myth that I just spelled for you, but of the 7 things that I talked about, and I talked about, out of respect for Charlie Munger, I made the first one, his statement on diversification. I talked about you don't need a huge portfolio. I talked about the 1% rule. I talked about you don't need to make a high income. I talked about retirement account sucking. I talked about the 4% rule, and I talked about The wonders of LLCs. Thank you all very much. I will see you either at the members only live stream or in a video on Thursday coming out. I'm probably going to do on the whiteboard where I explain how $200,000 a year can make you happier than $526,000 a year. That was the recent study on how much a certain age group of people thought you had to have to be happy. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.